Welcome to Mishna study. Welcome to Masechet Peah Perek Mishna Zayin. This happens to be an important Mishnah that also will come up elsewhere within Mishnayot, especially the concept, and that is how much do you need to provide an ani? How much do you provide a poor person when he's traveling? He's traveling place to place. We need to provide him with room and board. And how much of this food do we need to give him? We're going to speak about the minimum amount of bread that we need to give this person, right? So if he comes in, could you give him, half a slice of bread, or do you need to give him a certain amount? So that's what we're going to speak about. How big is this loaf of bread that we need to give him? And secondly, we're going to speak about, in general, a person, an ani, a poor person, how much he's allowed to take from the kuppah, from the city, right? The city would have different ways of giving out food and different ways of giving out charity, right? The charitable fund. How is the ani, how is the poor person allowed to collect from here? And at what point do we say he's not allowed to take anymore, right? He does well enough where he can't take from the kuppah, right? From the fund in the city. En pohatim le'ani ha'over mimakom le'makom mikikar bepundion me'arba' se'in basela lan notnim lo parnasa dina shavat notnim lo mazon shalosh seudot. מי שיש לו מזון שתי סעודות לא ייטול מן התמחוי. מזון 14 סעודות לא ייטול מן הקופה. והקופה נגבית בשניים ומתחלקת בשלושה. So firstly, we don't give an ani, a poor person who's passing place to place, anything less than what? A kikar, a loaf of bread, that's worth a pundion. That's worth a pundion. Pundion is half a ma'ah, right? Let's say if we were just to give it a currency, if I would say $1, so it's worth half of that, 50 cents, right? Now, at what point, right? If I say, if I said 50 cents in 1920 or 50 cents in 2022, that has very different value. I'm saying, a loaf of bread that you could buy for 50 cents. So again, if it depends how much the flour costs, right? So that's what the Mishnah gives further. And it says, when you buy flour, you buy 4 se'ah worth of flour, right? 4 se'ah worth of flour. 4 se'ah comes out to 24 kav. And you buy that for a selah, right? Selah, Rambam is going to convert it down even further. The selah comes out to 24 ma'ah, right? Which is, again, we said a pundion is half a ma'ah. So over here, you're buying 24 for 24. So imagine you're buying, 24, kav of flour for 24, ma'ah, $24, right? So that's what we're saying over here. Now, when we say we said so far, so se'ah is 6 kav, right? That's what we said, and that's what we have. That's how we got 4 kav. 4 se'ah is going to be 24 kav. A selah, we said, is 4 dinar, and a dinar is 6 ma'ah, right? Or 6 zuz is the same thing. So it comes out that as we said, that 24 ma'ah, you're able to buy 24 kab with that. So therefore, if a person goes and he's buying a loaf of bread of half a ma'ah, right? How much is he going to get there? How many kab is he going to get in that loaf of bread? So technically, it should be half a kab. Now, actually, that's what it says over here in the Perush Rambam. The more accurate Perush Rambam continues on and says that we're going to give him a loaf of bread that's worth a quarter of a kab. Now, how do you get to a quarter? We get to a quarter because the baker himself, right, the person who's baking the bread, he needs to make profit as well, right? So he's taking half for himself, right? He's working on a 50-point margin, and then therefore he's taking half for himself, and he gives half of it, to whoever's buying the bread from him. So it ends up being that when you buy a loaf of, you're buying a bread for a pundion, you're getting a quarter of a kav worth of bread. Now, how much is this quarter of a kav? Now, just going back to our mnemonic device we mentioned in last Mishnah, so it comes out, a quarter of a kav comes out to, a quarter of a kav will come out to 1, that's basically 1 log, right? There's 4 log in a kav, and 1 log comes out to approximately, if I'm to convert it into liquid ounces, it comes out to about 12 liquid ounces, which is a cup and a half, right? That's what we're saying. So you're basically giving him a cup and a half of, a loaf that has a cup and a half of bread, of flour in it. Just to convert it today, I was asking my wife, when you bake challah, how much, what does that convert to? So she says you get about approximately 18 cups of flour for every bag. And, they're usually able to make maybe 6 chalot from that. So each challah comes out to about 3 cups of flour. So we're basically saying half of that. So imagine it's one of those standard chalot that you have. So basically half of that, that's the size of a loaf that you need to give to the ani who's coming around. Next part of the Mishnah. Lan, he sleeps over, you have to give him parnasat lina, right? So you have to give him, a bed to sleep in, a pillow to use. If you know him, then you have to give him also clothing, Harambam says. If he stays for Shabbat, you need to give him 3 seudot, right? Now, where do we get 3 seudot from? A person needs to eat 3 seudot on Shabbat. So Rambam quotes it from, he learns it from Asmachta. It's a hinted to us in Sefer Shemot by the man. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us the man, he says, Ichlu hayom ki Shabbat hayom la'Hashem, hayom lo timsa'u basadeh. Right? It says hayom 3 times. So because it's hayom 3 times, we learn from here that a person needs to eat 3 seudot on Shabbat. Now, next part of the Mishnah. If a person has 2 seudot, right? He's poor, but he has enough to eat for the day. He has 2 seudot, he has 2 meals to eat for the day. He's not allowed to take from the tamhui. Tamhui is literally a pot. It was almost like like the pot in the soup kitchen that they would give out all the food to. So they would actually go house to house every evening, every day, or they would collect food, cooked food, from everyone that was cooking in the, actually cooking or baking in their house. And they would walk around and collect for the 4 people. Now, when they would collect, they would need 3 people to go ahead and collect and give it out, because they would collect and give it out at the same time. And anytime you give out something to the community, you need to give it out with a minimum of 3 people, because it's dinei mamonot. You're giving out. It's monetary issues, and all monetary issues are done with 3 people. So therefore, because you're collecting and giving out at the same time, and you need to give out with at least 3 people, so over here you have to have 3 people going ahead collecting door to door. That's the tamhui, right? So if a person has 2 seudot worth, he has a meal, he has, a breakfast and a dinner, or they would have 2 meals back then, a brunch and an early dinner. So he's not allowed to take from the tamhui. He has enough to eat from today. He's not allowed to take from that soup kitchen. Now, that's for the tamhui. What about the kuppah? The kuppah is literally, it's like we have today. You have a kuppah, right? They will collect charity. And over here, they would collect charity every Erev Shabbat, every Friday. They would go also home to home to make sure everyone gave charity. And they would collect for the aniyim for the week. And when they were collecting, everyone had to give. And if someone wasn't giving the appropriate amount, they would actually take a collateral from him. They would go into his house and they would literally take, on Erev Shabbat, they're allowed to take a collateral, take his watch until he pays up what he's supposed to give for the charity, right? For the food kitchen of the town. And when they're collecting over here we learn that the kuppah needs to be collected with at least 2 people, right? Because you're not allowed to enforce something, use any type of force on a community with any less than 2 people, right? You need to have 2 people really, running an institution, and if you can force people to do something, it needs to be with at least 2 people. And when they're giving it out, right, when they're dividing up the food, or the charity, better yet, they're doing it with at least 3 people, like we said, right? Right? That's how the Mishnah ends, that you need to collect with 2 people and give it out with 3 people. And like we said, because dinei mamonot, all laws of monetary issues are with 3 people. Now, if a person has 2 seudot, if he has 2 meals, he can't take from the tamhui because he has enough. If he has 14 seudot, 14 meals, right? So it's enough for the week. So now he's not allowed to take from the kuppah. And how do we get to the 14? Well, we said he has 3 for Shabbat, right? Which leaves us 3 meals on Shabbat, right? Because he has to have Sudah Shlishit also. When you said we learned it from the Asmachta, the Pasuk. And what's left? You have another 11 meals left for the rest of the week. How does 11 meals divide up to 6 days? It should be 2 meals per day. It should be 2 times 6, right? So you should get 2 times 6 is 12, plus the 3 on Shabbat should be 15, not 14. How are we getting 14? So Rambam explains that because he had Sudah Shlishit on Shabbat, right, he's not going to have a Saturday night meal, right? This Ani is not going to have a Saturday night meal. Rather, he has 3 Sudot on Shabbat, 1 on Sunday, and 2 every other day of the week. Right? That really sums up our Mishnah. Right? We learned some very important concepts over here. Firstly, what's the minimum amount of bread that you need to give an ani? And secondly is how much do you have to give a person? How much or ani himself, when is he allowed to collect? When is he not allowed to collect? And how much is needed to give to him? I would just point out, I thought this was interesting. I saw the Tur actually brings down, if you're collecting for everyone daily, right? Then why do you, or if you're collecting for everyone weekly, you're collecting tzedakah for everyone weekly, then why do you have to collect for people daily, right? If you took care of them for the week, then you're not going to have people who are going to need a meal. And he actually says there's 2 different types of tzedakah. I didn't see Rambam say this, I saw the Torah said this, and he said when you're collecting from the kuppah for the people, it's for the people in the city, right? The aniyim, the poor people in your city. So you need to take care of them every day. You take it once a week. You take care of them once a week, they're taken care of for the week. But what that doesn't account for the people who are traveling through the city. Imagine you have a shaliach coming, he doesn't have anything to eat, he's traveling from outside the city, he stopped in your city for the day to collect, and he's moving on to the next city the next day. When he's in your city, you still need to take care of him. And you take care of him from what? From the tamhui. That's really from more of that, the pot from the soup kitchen that you need to take care of the anim or passing through your city each day.